QAD here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up a QAD rest on a compound bow. Well, unfortunately, you're probably going to want a bow press. And right here I'm showing you the bus cable. That's the one you're going to want to insert I call it a ripcord into. I think the best thing to do is actually burn the tip of the ripcord first, just to make sure it's not like all frayy and sticking out everywhere, and that way it'll go through the bus cable a whole bunch easier. And you want to make sure that cable is nice and loose, because what you'll be doing is inserting a string separator through there. And when you do that, I have this huge fear of tearing up strings and cables when I put in string separators. So you take your string separator there and you try and push it through the cable. And let me tell you, if it doesn't seem loose enough, what you're going to want to do is loosen up those strings a little more. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to loosen them up. And you can see my hand there checking to see how loose it is. Now, on that bus cable, they look like they had a lot of twist in there. And so I'm kind of like twisting the cable the opposite direction of the cable twist, so that I can get my string separator in there a little easier. And now I'm still finding that, like up near that serving, there's not a whole lot of room. So instead of turning the string separator totally parallel with the cable and snapping it on, it doesn't really snap on. I'm just holding it there with my hand and making a hole big enough to put my ripcord through. Now, once you get the ripcord through, you just take the string separator out, and la-di-di-da, that's all you got to do. You have now actually prepared yourself for the next step. So notice how there's a ton of string hanging out. You want to actually pull that somewhat snug. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfectly snug, but there's some slack in the ripcord, but there's not a lot of slack, and I'll show you why in a second. It's going to be very important for the next step. So the next step of this is going to be actually drawing back the bow. And when you draw back the bow, what happens is that ripcord will slide through the bus cable to the perfect position. Now, what I'm noticing while I'm pulling it back with my scale here is that the forks did not come up. Now, I'm checking, I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Now, I checked on the ripcord, and man, those cables are super tight on that ripcord. So what I did was I started with the forks in the up position this time, and I pulled that ripcord back through so that I knew there was going to have to be some pressure put on that ripcord to pull it through the bus cable. So I'll pull it through. You can see the tension on the bus cable right there. And as I put the strings back down, we're literally perfectly set up. Now my job to do is to cut off the excess, burn it off, and make it look good. So this is the tricky part here. I don't really like cutting next to my cables or my strings, so be very, very careful at this part. Now, I would recommend like a super sharp razor blade, and unfortunately, wiggle, wiggle, I'm wiggling the camera here. Unfortunately, my razor blade wasn't sharp, but it cut through. So now the important part here is to kind of push down and make that end that's still sticking through the bus cable really fuzzy, because you want it to end up being like nice and flat, so that when you are pulling back on your bow, it prevents the ripcord from pulling through your bus cable. So I push that thing down real good and make it real fuzzy. Then have your lighter ready. You're gonna burn that thing down. I usually just wait until it looks all melted, and sometimes it catches on fire, but it's not a big deal. All your heat's going up right now. Make sure you don't got the heat going towards your strings or cables. And once it gets all melted, you just press it down with the end of your lighter. It mushrooms it out, and boom shakalaka, you got it. Now here, I'm just doing it one more time to make sure it works. So what I should see is, as I'm drawing back on this bow, the forks come up. Voila. Well, there we go. We have a QAD all set up on a compound bow. And I just want to wish you all luck, all you archers out there. I really encourage you to try doing things yourself and expanding your knowledge on bows. I'm still a rookie. I am not a pro. I just want to also remind you to subscribe and share this BowDad channel, and to remind you that used bows are just as good as new. This is BowDad. I'm out.